Welcome back, high performers, to another Touchcast and podcast from High Performance Living. This is Jen Quammen presenting this week's topic of professionalism. Specifically this week, we're asking questions regarding your professional recommendations and your personal ones. Are they matching one another? Are you advising something to clients that you wouldn't actually fulfill yourself? So we'll give a minute for you to think about that. I also just want you to know that this week we're actually recording from a separate location. We're up near the AVMA Headquarters in Schaumburg. I just spent the last couple days with my Future Leaders group. I'm excited to be in the Future Leaders Program this year, and so we've just spent the last couple days working on our project, and so this gives me the opportunity to record while we're up here at the AVMA mothership, as people like to call it. So now that you've had a little bit of time to think about the question of whether your professional recommendations match your personal ones, what sort of answers have you come up with for those questions? One of our main themes as we go through with High Performance Living is talking about personal wellness, personal performance, and just curious if you're recommending wellness for your patients or your colleagues. If you're in a multi-practice situation, are you following those questions and following those recommendations yourself? For example, if you're telling your patients or your clients they need to take their patients out for a little more exercise, are you following that yourself as well? So we would absolutely encourage you to make sure that your personal and professional recommendations are matching one another, because otherwise it can be a little bit confusing internally for your brain to put those two pieces together. In addition to our questions this week, I put up a quote that I actually really like and has this lovely bright sunflower with it. If you're listening, you're not seeing it, but if you're on the Touchcast, please enjoy it. And the idea is, the quote is, if you wouldn't follow the advice yourself, don't give it. And again, for me, this is a very personal representation of the fact of walking my talk. So if I'm going to suggest something to a client, I want to make sure I would have done the same thing in their shoes. If I had that same medical condition with a patient, or advice with a colleague or one of the staff members I have the opportunity to interact with. If someone comes to me with a problem, I want to transmit advice back to them that I would follow myself. So I think that's really important to me within my personal and professional life to have those things match one another. So we talked a lot about this idea of professionalism and how you're going to have core values associated with that. So your core values are those 3 or 4 things that are basically your guiding principles. And they're really not specific to professionalism or personal life. They're just sort of how you would live. And they may be related for some people to religious affiliations or something of that vein. And in that case, I want you to think about, are your core values matching your professional recommendations? Again, you don't want to have this duplicitous life where you're thinking one thing, telling your clients one thing, and then going out and doing something completely different. So we encourage you to think about, spend a little time on those core values. What are the 2 or 3 things that you stand for? And how do those match with what you stand for within the veterinary profession? I know for me, this year, the big 3 words that I'm strongly trying to pursue are honesty, humility, and humor. 3 H's, easy for me to remember, and maybe there's something like that that would work for you as well. For some people it's one guiding principle. So again, with me, this idea of, if I wouldn't follow the advice myself, I don't want to give it, that lines right in with my 3 words this year of honesty, humor, and humility. I always want to maintain that balance with my clients and colleagues, that I'm no better or different than anyone else. We're all living, struggling through life day to day, and so finding things that are tangible, realistic, and doable. I think those are very, very important. So we would absolutely encourage you to think about your core values. Please give us some feedback on what those are, how those relate to your professional life and your personal life. We would be more than excited to hear from you on that. You can reach out to us in any number of ways. The website, highperfliving.com, is a great way to sort of generally find us, but in other circles, social media, through the podcast, you can leave us a review here on iTunes or Stitcher, just to give us an idea of, is this information useful to you? Is there a way we could change the delivery of the information or the information itself? Because again, we want to make this successful and see everyone within this profession succeed and have a great time while they're doing it. So again, think back to those questions of, are your recommendations matching your personal and professional life? And again, if you're giving advice, would you follow it yourself? So thank you very much for listening and joining us this week, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.